And we're back here on the Next Panel podcast here for May the 4th. Very special episode here today. We're 3 weeks away, but I thought it'd be fitting ahead of time to preview the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi show on Disney+. And we don't really talk a lot about Star Wars here on the show. We talked a lot about Marvel, DC. We just wrapped up doing the Batman review last week, which was great. Did want to talk a little bit about Obi-Wan Kenobi, like I said, which is coming out in just 3 weeks from this week, I think on May 27th specifically, that Friday of Memorial Day weekend, which I'm super looking forward to. But Chris, you're here as well, BR_Doctor on the Twitter machine. Chris Mueller, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much. I'm looking forward to having some new Star Wars content and possibly seeing Ewan McGregor finally get to play the best version of Obi-Wan Kenobi that he can do.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to this and looking forward to talking about it as well. Phil, you're back as well. Phil DL616 on the Twitter machine. Phil, what's going on, dude?
I'm good. Looking forward to this.
I think we've only done... my memory might be wrong here, but Chris, I know you and I talked Mandalorian. I don't think we ever actually reviewed Season 1. We did do Season 2 when that aired year and a half ago, whenever that was. And then obviously all three of us talked the Book of Boba Fett when that dropped a couple of weeks ago. Or a couple of months ago, rather. But that's really about it. We haven't done a lot of Star Wars-related content. And I love Star Wars, but it's just that there's not a lot to really talk about right now. I mean, obviously we have the show coming up in a couple of weeks. We obviously Book of Boba Fett earlier this year. Mandalorian Season 1 and 2. But beyond the shows... and in between that, COVID kind of messed some things up as well. But the last movie that we had was in late December of 2019, obviously, Episode 9. But that was almost 2.5 years ago at this point, almost 3 years ago. Chris, are you looking forward to the show? You talked about it right there, just having more Star Wars content, and for the first time in a while, it feels.
I am. I'm looking forward to this show because I always felt like Ewan McGregor had a better Obi-Wan Kenobi in him than what we got in the prequel movies. And I think I don't know who's running the show, but if they put this in the hands of the right creator like they did with The Mandalorian, I think we're going to get like a new definition of who Obi-Wan Kenobi is.
Do you think it's worrisome at all that after I had read a little bit about the show, because this was announced a while ago and initial talks started 2 or 3 years ago. Now, I know things were delayed a little bit due to COVID, but it feels like the show, I think, was supposed to be out at least a year or so ago. They went through a couple of head showrunners, whatever. They had multiple changes to the script and stuff like that. When you hear stuff like that, especially after what happened with the most recent trilogy of movies, the sequel trilogy, does that worry you at all, thinking that... I mean, I know the other Star Wars shows were great, so maybe not so much, but it feels like with Star Wars, when they have stuff like that happen as far as the difference in showrunners and whatever, and they have to completely blow up the whole project and start from scratch, it seems like it doesn't always come out great. I want to be optimistic, and I think it will be a good show, but that does worry me a little bit, given Star Wars' track record recently.
I mean, it can be worrying, but, you know, there's plenty of examples of TV shows changing showrunners and writers and continuing to be great. So I'm not too concerned with that part of it. I think some of those changes might have had to do with the fact that there were certain characters that they thought they were going to use and then decided not to.
Yeah, who was the one character they were going to use or wanted to? Darth Maul, right?
I see. That's the big rumor, is that like they even shot scenes with Darth Maul.
Oh, interesting.
And then they decided not to do that. And if they decided not to do that, I'm actually kind of glad, because I feel like they already did everything they need to do with Darth Maul in the cartoons, and anything you do at this point, because those are canon.
Yeah.
So all that counts. So anything they do at this point is either going to be superfluous and additional stuff we don't need, or it's going to change something that's already established about him, and that's just going to piss people off. So if they decided to take him out of the show, I think that might have been for the best, especially if the plan is to use Darth Vader, which is the big rumor, is we're going to see another Darth Vader showdown at some point.
Yeah, no, I think that might be... we'll get to that, but that's probably where we're all headed with the season finale of the show. But you mentioned Darth Maul, and you're right. They do wrap up his storyline, his story arc, whatever, in Rebels quite well. But isn't it weird? I mean, thinking back on it now, they had that quick cameo from him in hologram form or whatever in Solo. That movie came out 4 years ago. It doesn't really seem like there's been any follow-up since then. Do you think this was intended to be... I mean... looking at the timeline, I guess this would have taken place around the same time as this show. Do you think we'll ever get any follow-up with Maul from his appearance in that movie? That's why I wanted to see him in this show, just to kind of wrap up that whole thing. Obviously, he wasn't going to die on the show because we see him die on Rebels. But I just thought it was weird they brought him back for that one thing, and there's likely not going to be a follow-up, unless they make a Solo too, which doesn't seem likely at this point.
Well, I had read somewhere that I think there was interest in doing a series around Kira.
Okay.
And if she's leading, what was it, Crimson Dawn?
Whatever it was, yeah, something like that.
So if she's leading that, I have a feeling we might see some Darth Maul stuff in there. I could also see Darth Maul possibly having some kind of role in that Andor prequel series that's coming up, but again, it's all, hearsay and speculation.
Yeah, they got other things they can plug him in if they wanted to. Like you said, there's a lot of rumors going around right now. Some of it is truth, some of it is just what people want to see, so it's really hard to you got to take it with a grain of salt. But Phil, with you, I mean, with the absence of Star Wars content in the last couple of years, again, like I said, we had Book of Boba Fett, both seasons of Mandalorian, which were fantastic television. Are you excited for more Star Wars content, or are you just like, oh, there's an Obi-Wan Kenobi show coming up, and I kind of forgot about it because it's been a while and Star Wars isn't really on the mind anymore?
Yeah, I'm excited. Personally, I think that Obi is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I think before they started doing the prequels and other content, I feel like he was my favorite Jedi because he was the first fully realized Jedi we saw. And some of the things that I think are cool about Jedis now, like we got that from seeing Obi-Wan in just like the short moments we saw him in the first movie.
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that because you mentioned how you were a fan of Obi-Wan even before the prequels came out. Now, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I grew up on not the original trilogy, but the prequel trilogy. Obviously, the original trilogy is the best series of movies of the bunch. I think we can all agree on that. But the prequels have their moments and whatever. That was what I kind of came up on and saw first, I think, before I even saw the original Star Wars, which sounds ridiculous. So I just have a personal connection, as probably a lot of people do, to Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is why I'm excited for this show. Are you looking forward to seeing Ewan McGregor back in this role, Phil? And what do you expect him to bring to this role that we haven't seen in 15 years?
Yeah, I think that Obi was easily the best character in the prequels. I think probably like you could make a case for Anakin, but I still feel like Obi is easily the most likable character because a lot of characters from the prequel, they come out looking worse after the after the trilogy. But I feel like Obi is one of the few characters where I thought that he came out looking better because we get more character development with him across the trilogy than we initially got.
What side, I guess I should ask, of Obi-Wan Kenobi do you think we'll see on the show? In between, obviously, Episode 3 and Episode 4, a lot happens there. It's many years in between the two movies, and he's obviously aged a lot by the fourth movie. It's not the same actor, obviously. But what kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi do you think we're going to get on this show? And, I mean, obviously the show is all about him, so I'm very curious to see how they do this and how they handle it, but what are you expecting out of his performance specifically as far as where he is in his journey before we see him in Episode 4?
I think I would assume they're going to deal with a lot of his guilt because I would assume that he has to figure that Anakin's fate is his fault in some ways. I mean, really, Anakin's fate is really his and the Jedi Council's fault when you really boil it down because they saw the signs in him and they didn't do anything to help him early on because they were so afraid of him.
Yeah, no, there's a lot that can be said about those prequels, but they're definitely to blame in that respect. And on the Darth Maul note as well, as we were just discussing with Chris, are you disappointed or are you relieved or whatever regarding his, reportedly taken out of this? I mean, he could always pop up, as Chris said. It's very possible we see him anyway, but were you looking forward to seeing him in the show when you hear that? Are you disappointed that he's not, or do you don't really think it matters to the show?
I think I would be disappointed if they didn't already seem to have other stuff lined up. Like, if we didn't get that news that we're getting Hayden Christensen, then I probably would be like, why couldn't we get Maul? But, I mean, if we're going to get more Hayden Christensen, and we haven't seen him in the role either since the prequel trilogy, I'm interested in what they're doing.
I'm aware of what's happened in the cartoons. I haven't watched every episode, but just the general premise of what Clone Wars and Rebels are about. I kind of know the timeline a little bit. I don't know much about the Inquisitors. Obviously, they're going to be a big part of the show. Can you shed some light on what they bring to the show, Phil, as far as what role they have and where they kind of go from here?
I was excited to see the Inquisitors because if you played what was the last Star Wars game where...
Oh, Fallen Order.
Fallen Order, it had the Inquisitors.
Great game.
Very great game. And they're actually making a sequel to
oh my God, I cannot wait. Like, seriously, I'm not a Star Wars game guy. Like, I did not do Battlefront much. I never really got into Knights of the Old Republic too deep, but that game was super fun, and I'm still waiting for a live-action Cal Kestis. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean, if the Inquisitors are canon, that leads me to believe that Cal is canon. I mean, Cal's lightsaber is at Disney World. You can make it at Disney World, so...
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe.
And nothing that happens in that game contradicts any of the existing canon, so they absolutely should make it canon and bring him in. And they modeled the character right after the actor doing the voice. So it'd be perfect.
Oh, wow.
Just cast him again, and it's perfect.
Do you think we'll see him in this show? I heard that, not that it was a rumor, but I saw a lot of people petitioning for that, Chris.
I don't know, because I'm not sure 100% in the timeline where that game takes place in relation to this show. Like, I know it's after Darth Vader comes into power, but before the original trilogy, and there's that's like a 20-year span of time, so it's really tough to say, because I think Kenobi takes place right around 10 years since the end of the first trilogy. Well, the end of the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Because Luke is supposed to be about 10 or 11, I believe, based on what we're seeing in the trailer. So it seems like this is right at that midpoint, and I don't know where that game takes place in relation.
Yeah, they would have to work that out, but not that it's a lock, but I had seen some people say, like you said, I haven't played the game, I've only heard great things about it, so I'll probably have to check it out at some point. I'm still on Lego Star Wars right now. I got to finish that first, and then I'll get the Fallen Order.
Dude, Graham, knowing what I know about your relationship with video games, you'll fucking hate it.
What, with Fallen Order?
Oh my God, dude, the combat in that game, like, if you don't turn it down to, like, really easy, can be very tricky.
That's good to know.
Can be very annoying, especially the very last boss. So annoying.
Yeah.
They called that game, like, Star Wars Dark Souls, because it literally has, like, precision combat that you need to get down these combos and these blocks, and I loved it. It's super fun, but based on what you've told me, Graham, I don't know if you'd like it.
Yeah, no, that sounds like something that might listen.
Maybe it's you know what though? Maybe it's the game that'll get you into modern gaming. Maybe this is the one that'll do it.
That's true. That's true. I'll probably stick with Lego Star Wars right now. It's kind of right up my alley and very simple and easy. But you know what? I'll give it a shot. I think I know someone that has the game, so I'll probably have to check it out. I mean, like I said, I've only heard great things about it, and I am a Star Wars fan, so. And the graphics
are
amazing.
Game Pass. I don't know if it's still on there.
Oh, it was on Game Pass at one point?
Oh, it is, because EA Play is just included with Game Pass now, and this is part of EA Play, so I think it's supposed to be on there, just like, unless EA stops doing that, it'll be on there pretty much forever.
So, okay, cool. Maybe I'll have to check
That's how
it
I
out.
played it, was on Game Pass.
All right, cool. Maybe.
But the Inquisitor's role is to essentially hunt down surviving Jedi.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that Obi does something, like he, saves someone, or he does something in the first episode to out himself, and the Inquisitors are going to come looking for him.
Do you think they're the main antagonist of the show? I mean, obviously we have, Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader. We don't know to what extent he'll be in the show or how much we'll be seeing him, even in the suit, as you mentioned earlier, Chris, the big battle at the end. Is there someone else behind the Inquisitors that you guys think that we'll see, or is it just the Inquisitors you think will be the main antagonist on the show?
I mean, the only other person I could see would be like the Emperor maybe making a cameo, right, Phil? Is there anyone else you could think of? Because I don't remember anybody else really running the Inquisitors besides Darth.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that the Inquisitors are probably like the main protagonist antagonist, and Vader is like just the guy behind them.
It's funny. I can't believe he responded. I put out a thing the other day because I think one of the Inquisitors that they said was in the show is one of the ones from Rebels, right? The second sister or seventh sister, whatever her name is.
Yeah, they all have numbered names like that.
Okay.
Yeah, first brother and stuff like that. And the voice of that Inquisitor on Rebels was Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh wow, yeah.
Who's Freddie Prinze Jr.'s
His
wife in real
yeah.
life, and Freddie Prinze Jr. was the voice of Kanan Jarrus. I sent out a tweet and I tagged Freddie because every once in a while he'll reply to stuff, and I was just like, "What are the odds we ever get a live action cameo with you as Kanan Jarrus?" And he just replies back 0%. And I was like, I acted kind of disappointed, and he just replied, "Dude, I'm 50."
That's funny.
Because his character dies like way before that, but I think it would work. They can de-age people.
No, it's definitely something that could be done. Yeah, I would love to see.
It feels like he's like, I'm done with acting.
Yeah. When was the last time he did anything acting related anyway, as far as on screen? I haven't seen him in anything in ages.
The Scooby-Doo movies, baby? I don't know.
I think he's done stuff after that, but he does mostly voice acting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know he was big involved in the Star Wars stuff, as you guys mentioned, and I know he did. He did WWE in between there too.
Yeah, he was game streaming for a little while.
Oh yeah,
too,
he was.
I watched one or two of his videos a while back, but I don't know if he really does that much anymore. Because he was really into a pirate game that I played called Sea of Thieves.
Oh okay. Oh, I've heard of that actually. That's cool. It was called like The Egg or something. I forgot what his channel was called, but.
Gaghead.
Gaghead.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, I haven't heard about it in a while, but he was pushing that for a little bit. Yeah, Freddie's awesome. I had a chance to meet him a couple of years ago. I just talked to him about his creative writing stuff in WWE. I haven't seen the Clone Wars show full, in its entirety, but he's a really cool guy. He'd be a great person to have on a show like this. What'd you say?
He has talked about how James Gunn's original vision for Scooby-Doo was like an R-rated comedy, and that there is a cut of that movie that exists somewhere.
I would love to see that.
I want to see that so bad, because he's like, I think he said that if they used what James Gunn came up with, they literally would have had to CGI out some of Velma's cleavage.
Wow.
Which is hilarious to me, but yeah, there's a lot of different people they could bring into this show beyond the Inquisitors. Like, we could get a cameo from somebody who's supposed to be Hera Syndulla from Rebels, who was Kanan Jarrus's like love interest.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different directions they can go. I think the coolest thing about this is that they actually did get the same actor and actress who played Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru in the prequels to come back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that's awesome, and just being able to use some of these same actors a decade or two later to keep playing these characters, it is one of the unique things about Star Wars, because there aren't that many franchises that have this like 30 to 60 year storytelling span where they can tell stories with the same actor playing an old and a young version of himself. So it's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, E. McDermott is like, what, fucking 90 years old or something? I mean, if they wanted to dust him off and put him in the Emperor role one more time. I know he had the send-off in Episode 9, but, I mean, I don't know if they would bring him into a show like this or have him do the voice or whatever, but he's another one. I mean,
he teased it in an interview recently. He said, "I don't think you've seen the last of the Emperor," so...
Oh, wow.
He's not letting it go.
Dude, he likes Star Wars, dude. He's not like Anthony Daniels out there talking trash but still taking paychecks.
Didn't Alex McGinnis just fucking hate the show or doing Obi-Wan?
Well, Alec McGinnis was a very Shakespearean type of actor. I think this was a paycheck for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think as he aged, he did grow to appreciate the fandom that came out of it.
Interesting.
Because that's the same thing with Anthony Daniels, too. I shouldn't say Anthony Daniels. I shouldn't be like a dick, because he's like... There's a lot of interviews with him where he's not saying such kind things about Star Wars, but I've seen interactions with him and fans, and he does seem genuinely grateful for the people who like him and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if we get like an R2D2 and C3PO cameo at some point, because God knows where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if they confirmed it, but we might see a young Leia at some point too.
Yeah, I had heard that. I'm thinking...
Because Jimmy Smits is supposed to play Bail Organa, and he's the one who's taking care of Leia. So, yeah, we could see her running around in the background playing with her toys while Obi-Wan and Bail are talking war.
That's possible. Yeah, no, I could see that. Do you think it's more likely if they were... I mean, it's inevitable we're going to get a cameo in the show in some form or fashion from somewhere in the Star Wars lore. Do you think it's more likely we get a character that more people that have only seen the movies would be familiar with? Or do you think there's a chance that, like with the Book of Boba Fett, with like Cad Bane, for example, he was only from the animated shows, that we could see someone like that pop up, as you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I think they're going to start trickling in these characters from the other parts of the franchise, comics, books, video games, whatnot. Because I do think that Disney likes having all that stuff connected. And they are trying to build out like one version of the canon, and all the other stuff is that Legends canon now. So yeah, I would not be surprised one or two characters from something else show up here. And in fact, I'm almost expecting it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure in some form or fashion, regardless of who it is. I mean, I don't know. Again, like I said, I don't really have any predictions myself. Maul would have been the one, but that was kind of ruled out already unless they, sneak him in there in some form or fashion. But one of the biggest, appealing points of the show is Hayden Christensen coming back as Darth Vader. Now, what makes me curious is how they're going to use him. Obviously, he's in the show for a reason. Obviously, this takes place after Episode 3. He was already donning the Darth Vader suit by the end of that movie. He'll be doing the voice, I'm sure, on this show, but if he has the helmet on, it would be James Earl Jones, I would think. So I'm kind of curious. I mean, I'm excited to see him in the show, but I'm curious how they're going to do it. Do you have any expectations for that, Chris?
I have no idea. It's so easy for them to adjust voices now to where they might just record Hayden speaking and vocally change it to sound like James Earl Jones. And it all depends on how willing James is to, make it down to the studio and record lines. I mean, I have no idea at this point. He might just be done. Man's old, let him retire,
Yeah. No, exactly. He's been on forever.
I mean, Jesus. Did you see him in Coming to America, too?
He looks tired. He looks tired. That's the thing, though. Do you think, even if they were to do that, I mean, I just feel like it might be a waste to have Hayden in the suit and then have, even if you were to do the voice, but do it in James Earl Jones style or whatever. I mean, they could have anyone do that, right? So at some point, would he have to, do you think he was going to take the suit off and it might be a one scene?
We're gonna see him in a Bacta tank.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. That shot in the original trilogy where you see, he's sitting in his little throne egg thing and the helmet gets lowered down onto him, but you don't really see his face. We're gonna see that, but from the front with Hayden's face.
Okay.
You just know it. There's no way they're casting Hayden just to keep him in the mask. This isn't Judge Dredd.
Yeah, no, I was just curious how they're going to do it, because it's just, with the way they left off, and he has the suit, and he was already deformed before he put on the suit, and yeah, I figured the back-to-tank thing would make sense, but I'm curious. What about you, Phil? Would you concur with that, too, as far as the way that we're going to probably see Hayden in the show? Because I'd be shocked if they just casted him in this role to be in a suit, to do the James Earl Jones voice, and nothing more than that. I'd be a little surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get some flashbacks.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call.
From what period you're thinking?
Just stuff from the Clone Wars, or maybe stuff that involved their training or something. I don't know. But there's plenty of stuff that they could do, because there's plenty of stuff that they didn't show on screen for the movies, but they might have, alluded to in the animated series.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some live-action recreations of events from the Clone Wars series. That would be kind of interesting.
Well, I could totally see that happening, too. I mean, yeah, I think it'd be cool to see some real-life adaptation of some of the stuff on the show.
That's another thing. Ahsoka could show up.
I was just about to ask you guys, yeah, what are the odds of Ahsoka showing up, especially before her show comes out soon?
It's weird with the timing though, because they sort of imply that she was like literally inside the Force for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not sure how long she spent in there, because that's one of the reasons why she's not as aged as everybody else in The Mandalorian who would have been around as long as her.
Yeah.
I think she spent like 10 to 20 years in there or something ridiculous. But I could be totally wrong about that. It's just at the end of Rebels, it's like they show her sort of leaving Ezra and going into that place, and then they show her coming back out years later to go search for Ezra. But I'd actually be very interested to see Obi-Wan and Rosario Dawson's character just, have a little bit of a back and forth in one episode. That would be cool.
Didn't she mention in the Book of Boba Fett when she was on, the planet with Baby Yoda doing the training and Luke was there too? She had mentioned something about Luke's father, obviously, Darth Vader. Didn't she say something about she mentioned about her relationship with him, right, or whatever?
I don't remember that conversation. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know that it happened. I just couldn't tell you what she said.
Yeah, and it was a very small thing. Yeah. I don't know if they put that in there for a reason, but just a thought. So yeah, she might be a face to look out for as well. I also heard that John Williams is coming back to do a score, not for the whole show, but I think just for Kenobi himself, which I think is pretty cool. Do you think that does a great job, or do you think that's effective in kind of bringing back the vibe of the original trilogy, Chris?
Yeah, John Williams, there's a lot of composers who can make epic sounding music, but there's just something about, John Williams, when he does something, you can almost tell it's him.
Yeah.
And I think for Kenobi, being able to get that same composer who's composed every other Kenobi appearance, that's going to help it feel like it belongs.
For sure, especially with the time period they're going for on this show. What about you, Phil? Your thoughts on John Williams coming back to do a score for Kenobi?
I mean, it makes the most sense. I mean, he is a character from the first trilogy, and just to give it that classic feel makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. It's interesting. They've done this with certain shows. I know they did this with WandaVision, but they're doing a 2-episode premiere of this show. Now, they've changed it a couple of times. It was supposed to come out in 3 weeks from when we're dropping this on Wednesday, on May 25th, which is the exact 45 anniversary of Star Wars, because the first movie came out in 77, so that would make sense. And the exact 45-year anniversary of Star Wars, it was supposed to come out that Wednesday, which is when all the other Disney Plus shows drop, Moon Knight, even Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian, or at least Mandalorian Season 2, probably not Season 1. That was when they were still on Fridays. But then they bumped it to Friday on the 27th, and they're doing 2 episodes and not just 1. So, but that's not permanent, though. They're going to be on Fridays for 2 weeks and then go back to Wednesdays, I think, to run opposite of Miss Marvel, which is starting up, I think, on June 8th. And it's all the same service. They're both on Disney Plus. So it seems, I mean, the timeline of when it's coming out is cool because I kind of correlate May between the anniversary and May the 4th with Star Wars, but it just seems weird that this giant conglomerate that is Disney would be having these 2 big shows come out almost simultaneously. There's going to be a few weeks where they'll be running back-to-back, at least 3 weeks, which is very weird. Any thoughts on that, Chris, as far as the whole moving from Wednesdays to Fridays for 2 weeks and then back to Wednesdays and that whole weird thing?
I don't think it really matters too much. I think they know that the people who are into this are going to pay attention to the time slot and just react accordingly. I really don't care too much. I mean, the fact that it'll be Friday, and then we only have to wait 4 days for the next one on Wednesday, that'll be nice because
yeah.
I've been waiting 6 days for this damn Moon Knight finale.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do you think this will hurt the buzz around the show at all? I mean, because I feel like when a new episode of one of these shows comes out, Moon Knight, that's I don't know, because I feel like a lot of the people who watch the Marvel shows are also watching Star Wars. We'll watch both, obviously. I mean, there's no question about it. But I feel like if you're having both shows come out simultaneously, it might hurt, might take the focus away from one of the other ones. I mean, again, it's a very short period of only 3 weeks where that's happening. But I just don't know if that's the smartest business strategy.
I mean, it's Disney. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm not going to question the overlords.
Don't question the mouse. What about you, Phil? What are your thoughts on the whole release time? Do you think it matters, not matter, or what are your thoughts?
I think it's all kind of stuff left over from the COVID and just pandemic era. Because now they have to rush to try and get this Marvel content out there in time for Marvels, which is next year.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think it's. Actually, I don't know. I don't think it would be this fall, right?
I think it's next year. But yeah, I think they're bumping against trying to get all of these things set up in time for people to go see the movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it. It's just it's a good problem to have, I guess. You know, you don't want to be like, oh, we have too much content. Like,
yeah, no, for sure.
What is too much content?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's all good stuff for the most part too, so you can't really complain. Do we know? You mentioned the Andor show earlier. Do we know when that's dropping? As far as what the window is between this show and then when that drops, is that the summer?
I have no idea.
I haven't heard a lot. Have they even put out a trailer for that show yet?
No.
There was like 5 seconds as part of a teaser reel from one of their like Disney Day events or whatever.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even show footage. It was just Diego Luna talking.
Oh, okay.
Geez, yeah. I'm looking on the Wikipedia right now, you know, the most reliable source ever. And it doesn't have any kind of expected date. It just says scheduled to be released mid to late 2022. And apparently that's going to have 12 episodes. So that's going to be like the longest Disney Plus show.
Yeah, I mean, this is only 6. And they're doing 2 episodes at once for the premiere week. So this is really only like a 5-week stretch of Obi-Wan shows at the end of May and then all through June. And then, I mean, I thought, I would assume that's probably dropping around August or September. I might be wrong because 12 weeks is what, 3 or 4 months, 3 months. So, I mean, that's got to be the rest of the year at that point, whenever it drops for the most part.
They could always go the route of WandaVision and drop the first 3 at once, especially if it's only a half-hour show. I'm not sure what the length of each episode is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if it's supposed to be, 25 to 35 minutes, they might do 3 at once. If it's supposed to be 40 minutes to 50, like Moon Knight, then I would imagine it'd be 1 a week. But yeah, that's surprising to me that it's going to be 12. And it says a second season is already in development, which
oh wow,
they must be really confident because I don't know anyone who's like, I need more Cassian Andor. Like, that's one of those characters that I never would have pegged for his own series. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it is, though, because, they've done a good job with most of this stuff so far.
Yeah, I was going to say, I completely forget, but does this follow the events pre or post Rogue One? I forget what this show is about.
It would have to be pre because everybody dies at the end of it.
Yeah, I forget what the show is about. I forgot like who's in it or whatever.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of the rebellion, so it'll probably be a couple of years before the events of Rogue One, and he's like a young spy working for the rebellion.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I love Rogue One. I got to rewatch that one of these days because that was an amazing one of the better Star Wars movies they've put out. On that note, though, where do you guys think the future of Star Wars is headed as far as the big screen goes? Because we have these shows coming out. This is coming out, obviously, in 3 weeks. Then the Andor show, among other, the Ahsoka show as well, probably next year. They got that stuff lined up, among other, I would assume, other animated shows they're going to be releasing at some point on Disney+. I have heard absolutely nothing about any movies, and it's been since late 2019. I know COVID was a factor too, but there hasn't even been any reports that there's anything in development or even being talked about. So, Chris, I'll start with you. Do you think we'll get another... I mean, it's inevitable we get another Star Wars movie, but do you think they're more focused on the shows at this point, and then we'll get back to the movies in a couple more years?
I thought J.J. Abrams was supposed to do a Star Wars movie. Is that not a thing anymore?
That's what I thought, but I haven't heard anything else about it.
Yeah, I thought they were planning another trilogy that's going to take place after the newer sequels.
Oh, was that a thing? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought that's what they announced, but they didn't announce exactly what it would be about. If it was like the cast from the current trilogy would be coming back or what, but they definitely seemed like they were going to do another trilogy. It just was going to be after the quote-unquote Skywalker saga.
Do you think they might want to... Do you think they're intentionally holding out a little bit after the negative feedback a lot of those movies got in this more recent sequel trilogy? That the further distance we are away from it, the more likely it is that people might be more open to whatever they're planning for this next trilogy, if that is indeed the direction they're going in.
If I had to assume, it seems like they are trying to prep exactly what they want to do. Because I think, for better or worse, the problem with the current trilogy is that they had the framework of what they wanted to do, and then there were too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So I think if you came back with a focused idea of what you want to do for 3 movies, and one director directing all 3 of them, I think it could be a success. I mean, it's Star Wars. It's going to be a success anyway, but I think it would be more critically successful.
I was going to say, more critically acclaimed than some of the more recent movies. What about you, Chris, as far as where do you think they're headed with the movies and the shows and when we might get the next trilogy?
I personally think they're a little gun-shy to jump into movies again after what happened with the last trilogy being so mixed.
Mm-hmm.
So I could absolutely...
They made money, so.
Yeah, they definitely made money. But even the executives understand that splitting the fandom the way they did couldn't have been good. And The Mandalorian has done a lot to bring the Star Wars fandom back together, because that seems to be universally loved.
Yeah.
So I think that they're probably going to try and figure out, like, do we want to keep focusing on Jedi versus Sith, or do we want to start using the movies to look at other parts of the universe? Because there's, like, witches and all sorts of weird stuff in Star Wars that we haven't really seen in the movies yet. What I'd like to see is, I would love to see somebody like Guillermo del Toro come in and make, like, a creature-focused Star Wars movie. Like, focus it on one planet that has a bunch of crazy creatures, and almost make it like a horror survival kind of story of a bunch of downed X-Wing pilots trying to escape from all these crazy ass monsters.
So Star Wars version of Fantastic Beasts?
Except it will actually focus on the beasts and not Wizard Hitler.
On that same note, do you think, or not do you think, but what happened to the whole Star Wars stories things? They made Rogue One, they had Solo. Did they have other plans to make more movies? I know there was talks a long time ago of a Boba Fett movie, and obviously that became the Boba Fett show instead, in The Mandalorian and whatever. Whatever happened with those side projects as far as the movies go?
We might still get individual stories that will have the Star Wars story name. I know that that's originally what they were going to do for Kenobi before it was decided it would be a series.
Yeah.
So I could see that continuing as well, because planning out a trilogy with one director and, you know, like, that stuff all takes a long time. But if they just want to bring in, like, one interesting director to do one project about something that isn't all that related to everything else, then I'm all for it. Like, I want to see more expansive Star Wars stuff. I don't want them to keep focusing on the Jedi and the Sith.
Yeah.
I don't want them to keep focusing on the same 10 planets that we've seen. Like, now is the time for them to start really going crazy and starting to bring in some of the elements that they've already introduced in the cartoon series. Like, that's the one thing the cartoon series has brought to Star Wars more than the live action, is expanding the lore of planets and all the different creatures and all the different races. because there's more content animated than there is live action now. If you go hour to hour,
Oh, wow.
there's more of just Clone Wars and Rebels is more time than all the movies and the other TV shows put together.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Are we getting that Lando show?
Oh my God, I don't know. I got so excited when they announced that because Donald Glover was far and away the best part of that movie.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard much on it. But yeah, I really hope we get that. That would be great.
Yeah, it just seems it's strange. They had a lot of stuff in the works, and we just haven't heard a lot about it. Do you prefer the show format? It seems like they know the formula for the shows, and it works. Even before the more recent trilogy, they had Clone Wars and Rebels that were very well received for the most part. Do you prefer the show format, Chris, or do you like a combination? Are you more traditional like the movies, or do you like a combination of both?
I think it depends on the type of story they're going to tell.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to focus in on one character, I think the TV show format is better because it gives them more time to build these people out. But if you're going to be going into big-ass space battles, then you need the budget that the movie's going to have. And that's part of the reason why we never got any big-ass space battles in The Mandalorian. You know, you see 3 ships in most of those scenes at the most.
Yeah.
And part of that is just because they only have so much money to go out and do the space scenes and create all this other stuff out of nothing. So I do think that the broader scope stories, the movie is the better format for that. And then for character focused stuff, we'll keep it to the TV series.
Yeah. Would you say the same, Phil, as far as, I mean, I guess it depends on what it is, what it's about, like Chris said, but do you prefer one or the other, or do you think it's all a matter of what the subject matter is?
Yeah, I think it depends on what the subject matter is. I think we definitely saw some of the budget constraints with Mandalorian and Boba Fett more than anything, especially the finale. Like, you could see them stretching that budget.
Oh, my God, yeah. Like a small back alley with 10 soldiers coming in at a time. Like, they were really pushing the extras and the costume budget and stuff.
Yeah, the CG was sometimes not the best as well. But yeah, I think that given the ability to do the shows and to focus on individual characters and individual story arcs and not having to carry, 3 or 4 different plot points at the same time with a movie, it helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna give me more Star Wars movies at some point, of course I want them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the benefits, honestly, of Star Wars with Marvel, like with the phases, as soon as one is over, they immediately go into the next thing, which is fine. I think obviously they do great stuff, so it doesn't really matter. But with Star Wars, I feel like they kind of, whether this is intentional or not, they do a good job of spacing everything out. I mean, we're just, like I said, we're celebrating the 45th anniversary of the original movie this month. We had those first 3 movies in the late 70s, early 80s. Then it was another, 83 to 99? That's 16 years. So 16 years there. And then from 05 to 2015 was a 10-year stretch. So do you think that's a benefit? Again, I don't know if they do that on purpose, but Phil, I'll start with you. Do you think that's a benefit of the Star Wars formula as far as waiting a while and kind of releasing things in bunches as far as the movies are concerned? As far as, we don't call them phases, that's more of a Marvel thing, but that's kind of what it feels like to me.
Well, I think that it helped that movies weren't made the same way when Star Wars first came out. So you didn't have this assembly line thing that Marvel Studios is doing now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the sequel trilogy, Disney just decided, all right, let's get our feet wet and let's put as much Star Wars content out there as we can and see how it's received. And now I feel like they are. It's strange to say. I feel like they're finally hitting the mark with what they actually wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I feel like there, of course, will be more movies at some point. I just feel like now they're hitting a stride and being successful like Marvel is.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think they're finally starting to find the formula that works for them. What about you, Chris? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. It's like Disney, despite the fact that they've had some missteps, they know what they're doing with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of just along for the ride at this point. Like, Star Wars is a very special franchise for me, but I'm not what I would call a hardcore Star Wars fan. Like, there are some people who really take Star Wars seriously and get personally offended when they don't like something that's part of it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like, these are just fun movies from when I was a kid that they're still making somehow. Like I was born after the original trilogy had come out, but not that long after. So for me, I was like, I remember being 4 or 5 and kind of discovering these movies on TV and on video for the first time, and not looking at them as being any different from the other weird sci-fi stuff like The Last Starfighter. Like, if you guys have ever seen The Last Starfighter, it is not on the level of Star Wars in quality, but 5-year-old me was like, they're both movies about aliens. It's fun.
That's
like,
funny.
So I just have fun with Star Wars. Like, I try not to get too personally invested in any of this, and just go along for the ride. Like I wasn't super stoked about the Boba Fett finale, but that didn't stop me from enjoying the show as a whole.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, it's just one of those things where I think people, when they really break it down and realize, like, this is all just about, like, wizards with space laser swords, and it's goofy, and it should just be enjoyed for what it is. Like, it becomes a lot more fun.
Yeah, you just got to enjoy it for what it is. And, and I think that's the important takeaway from all the Star Wars stuff as we celebrate 45 years of Star Wars this month. There's a lot of stuff to consume, and there's a lot of stuff out there. All of it's on Disney Plus, so it's all in one place, which is the best part about the Disney buyout with Star Wars, is that they're all in one place. You can watch all these shows at any time, or the movies as well, which is cool. But yeah, this was a perfect time to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi going into the big premiere in a couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to the show. I know it's a big week as we're speaking right now for Marvel with the Moon Knight finale, as you mentioned, Chris. That's dropping tomorrow as we speak, or today as I drop this. And we have Multiverse of Madness on Friday coming out as well. So, I'm sure we'll talk about both things at some point as well. But
you guys got your Multiverse of Madness tickets already?
Going on Thursday.
I don't, but I'm definitely going this weekend.
Yeah.
I keep looking at the website, and like, Friday is the first day that any showings are available around me.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's like, I want to go, but because they scheduled the Rampage for so early and I have to cover it, I don't think I can.
What time is Rampage on Friday?
4:30. It's going to be on at like 4:30 our time for me.
Holy shit. I heard it was early.
Like,
I didn't know it was that early.
The first showing that's available for the movie is 3 p.m. I'm not going to be able to go see it at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to go see it between Rampage and SmackDown. And I'm definitely not going to go after SmackDown because, for one, I'll just be tired. But two, I would rather see this in like a filled theater, not like completely full and people cheering their head off at every cameo. Like, I want to hear the movie. I know that, like, you know, I see these videos of like an entire bar freaking out when Captain America picks up Mjolnir in Avengers, and it's like, that's fun, sure, but none of those people have any idea what Steve said right after that for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I might end up having to see it Saturday or Sunday, or I don't know, I might even try and wait until the following Monday, because I don't think any of the Saturday or Sunday showings will be semi-empty. And unfortunately, I won't tell you guys what it is, but I already had something major spoiled for me on my timeline. I was pissed.
That sucks. Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from the timeline this week after what you had said to us a couple of days ago.
I should have just muted words like people said, and I didn't, and now I'm regretting it.
That sucks. I have 48 hours to try to avoid spoilers until then, so I'm gonna hopefully stay away from that until then. But yeah, if you guys see it this weekend, regardless of what date it is, maybe around this time next week, we'll talk Multiverse of Madness and break down the madness around that movie and all the spoilers that have come out by that point. If you haven't seen it by Sunday, for the most people, then at that point you might as well just delete your Twitter account, because I'm sure it's going to be all over the place. But then again, that being said, people were pretty good about the Spider-Man spoilers. I mean, I think we all saw it early. What'd you say?
Were were they?
I mean, for the most part.
People were posting pictures of the screen.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, for the most part, it seemed like it was pretty good. I didn't see a lot of people going out of their way. I mean, there were definitely circumstances, but not for the most part, I would say.
The Doctor Strange thing that got spoiled for me was a straight up video clip of the movie theater.
Oh my
I was
God.
so pissed.
When was, what, on Monday? Because they did the showings last night, or was this before yesterday?
No, this was like a super advanced screening.
Oh, what the
like,
fuck?
Not the world premiere. Like, this must have come from somebody in the media.
Oh, wow. That's shitty. I don't understand why people do that. It's so fucking... I hate when people do that.
Oh, and it's not like this tweet was marked like, you don't want to see this if you haven't seen it. And the fact that somebody that I was following like retweeted it without any kind of context, like, that's how I saw it, and I was just pissed.
That's a good way.
None of the people I follow are going to spoil the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Same here, yeah.
But one of them posted that, and I was like, God damn it.
Come on, man. That's how you know who to follow and who to unfollow around these times of year when people are... Not even just if you post it, but even if you share it. Don't like it either. There's ways to save tweets without... Because you can see what people like, and I don't like that. So please refrain from spoilers. Everyone else would appreciate it. But, I look forward to talking to you guys about that, and hopefully Moon Knight the next time we chat as well. But as we wind down May the 4th here. Chris, do you remember what we spoke about on May the 4th last year?
Was it The Mandalorian?
No, it was not The Mandalorian.
No, I don't remember. What did we talk about?
We finally broke down the holiday special.
Oh, that's right. Oh, and Phil, you didn't watch it in time. That was like one of the few things you weren't on.
Yeah, it was me and you, yeah.
Oh my God.
So we might have to make this an annual thing where, I mean, we're talking Obi-Wan Kenobi today. Next year on May the 4th, I don't know what the hell is going to be relevant by that point, but we'll see. Maybe we'll do a breakdown of the first ever Star Wars movies 46 years later or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We'll do one of the Ewok movies. We'll keep it to something. We'll keep it to one of the crappy parts of the...
No, yeah, actually, that'd be a good idea, because I had never seen, before you pitched the idea to me, Chris, of talking about and watching the holiday special. I had never seen that before, so I think that'd be a good opportunity. I mean, you obviously have seen it. I have not, so it would be a good opportunity to finally watch something like that back.
Those Ewok movies are like, oh man, one of them is like a straight up drug trip. You're just like, how is any of this happening? Like, you're just watching it and you're like, who wrote this? Who approved it? Like, I want to be in the room when this movie is getting made, because there is no way that movie would have gotten made at any other point in time other than when it happened.
That's on Disney Plus, right?
Oh, both of them are.
Oh my God.
The second one is like the darkest Star Wars story, period.
Really?
Told through the lens of a little girl hanging out with a bunch of teddy bears. It's so weird. Phil, you've seen them, haven't you?
No.
No?
No, I've never seen either Ewok movie.
Oh my God. They're so weird, man. Just, I don't even know how to describe them. One of them has Wilford Brimley. Like, it's just weird. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch both of them at some point, because it adds so much to Star Wars that they've never talked about again. That, like, there are elements from those that I want to bring back. And I saw a super funny fan theory that somebody thinks the little girl from those two movies grew up to be Captain Phasma. Which, if you watch those two movies, is a really funny theory to think about.
That's funny. Well, we got a year to watch it. We'll talk about it next year here on May the 4th, 2023. So until then, guys, enjoy your May the 4th holiday, and we'll speak next week about Multiverse Madness.
Thanks.